we are here with Michael Gaudet, a visual artist, author, and also a kidney health advocate. Welcome.
Thank you, Marion. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, well, you rock, and I'm really glad to have you on my show and talk about all these important things. So tell us a little bit about your history.
Okay, well, I guess it predominantly spins out of kidney health. When I was 19, living and working in Toronto, in 1979, I was diagnosed with kidney failure. And so I had to have emergency surgery to initiate dialysis in 1979. Bearing in mind that 15 years prior to that, kidney disease was a death sentence.
Oh, really?
I was lucky I was in the right place at the right time. So I started immediately on dialysis, and then only 7 months later, my brother Stephen stepped up and offered a kidney transplant, a donation transplant. And so that transplant lasted me for 34 glorious years.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a longevity record in Western Canada.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
However, 4 years ago, I had to go back to dialysis because my kidney function petered out. So I've been on dialysis since May of 2014, but I'm keeping busy. Just before I went back on dialysis, my wife, Sharon Gibson, suggested we should start a Facebook group for kidney support.
Okay.
And so we started the group, and the idea was, let's try to find people that have been out longer than me to pick their brains to see if I can come up with any ideas to sustain my kidney function. And we did. We found people that were 35 and 40 years transplant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not the record holder.
Okay.
Within the first year, we had over 900 members from around the world. And now, after about 4 or 5 years, we have close to 18,000 members on this kidney support group on Facebook. It's one of the busiest places on the internet for all things kidney. It's like a living kidney health encyclopedia.
Okay.
So that was really, it's really interesting. It's still going strong. In the meantime, when I started back on dialysis, I went out and bought a laptop, and I started, I don't know, Marion, are you old enough to remember longhand on loose leaf?
Yes, I am.
See?
Yes, I am. I was a teacher for 30 years,
so you would know.
I know all about that.
Cursive.
Cursive
even.
writing, but they're not teaching it anymore, apparently.
I wish they would be. Apparently, it's really good for the brain.
Yes, I would think so.
So I had a big raft of longhand on loose leaf that I had accumulated over the years. And I decided after I went back on dialysis that I was going to make good use, productive use of my 4 hours 3 times a week on dialysis. So I started typing with one hand, and within 1 year I had my first book published.
Okay.
From these notes that I'd accumulated over the years in the book. It's called Dancing with Rejection. Here it is here. The cover shows a patient starting off in bed in very pale colors, getting up to a wheelchair, crutches, cane, and then walking off the canvas. You can see the last figure here has a kidney transplant in his lower abdomen.
Oh, right, I see that. So
like,
you must have did the illustrations for that.
Yes.
Yes, of course, because you're a beautiful visual artist, too.
Thank you.
Yes.
So this mural on the cover here actually is a visual prayer for all the transplant donors and dialysis patients worldwide, and there's millions of us. You know, there's 11,000 dialysis patients in Saskatooon
I
alone.
did not know that. That's huge. That's huge.
It's a big number. And so on the theme of advocating for kidney health, before Christmas, my wife Sharon suggested, why don't we put together a petition to promote the idea of opt-out or implied consent for organ and tissue donation, because Brad Wall had suggested that idea about a year or so ago, that he should consider it to be a leader in Canada.
So what does that actually mean? What do you mean?
Well, it means that when God forbid you perish, your organs and tissue are automatically implied that you are donating your organs and tissues, rather than having to make a conscious decision to check your box on your driver's license. Implied consent means that everybody will be eligible and qualified to donate their organs after they die.
That's an excellent idea, because I think a lot of people are afraid to check that box, thinking that it's almost like a death wish. They're scared that if it happens, they're going to die. There's some people superstitious
Possible.
out there.
Yeah.
So what an interesting idea. I've never heard that before.
Well, there's a few countries that are doing it already. Wales is doing it.
Okay.
And it turns out that when Wales brought this policy into play, their organ and tissue donation just spiked right off the map. And all of a sudden, it's like their transplant, people waiting for a transplant, the numbers have gone down, down, down in the past 10 years. So it is a very interesting initiative. And so we did start the petition, and we got over 5,000 signatures and sent it along to the health minister and the health critic here in Saskatchewan. Now we're just kind of waiting for them to get back into session, and hopefully there'll be some movement on that.
Well, that's great. That's wonderful.
So another thing I should maybe mention is that my two books called Dancing with Rejection and A Work in Progress,
Okay.
they kind of explain the whole phenomenon of kidney failure and then rebounding back to wonderful health with a transplant in a literary setting.
Really?
And they also explain on another thread. They also go into quite a bit of detail about some of my big mural projects over the years.
Okay. Well, you want to talk a little bit about those mural projects?
Well, sure. Probably the one that I'd like to mention first is the one that went up in Yonge last summer.
Okay.
It's called Forever Young, and it was painted to commemorate the centennial of the village of Yonge. And we put it up last summer, and it's actually pretty massive. It's 20 feet high and 80 feet long, and it's 10 feet off the ground.
Oh, okay.
And so it's kind of like a montage of a historical overview of the farm and town history of Yonge. And another mural that I'm quite pleased with and excited about is the mural I painted at Sacred Heart, Chaldean Catholic Church here in Saskatoon. It's on the inside, but it's actually pretty massive, and it spins out of an original design I did for St. Mary's Basilica in Halifax way back in 1981, a mural called Trinity.
Okay.
And then 30 years later, actually to the day, we unveiled this one in Saskatoon. And it's kind of a more sophisticated and more mature version of the Trinity, along with a lot of other things. We call it a visual catechism. And Father Sabah at Sacred Heart, he's now in Vancouver, but he kind of built the congregation up here. He's originally from Iraq, and he has sponsored about 350 or 400 families to come here to Saskatoon.
Oh, really?
It's one of the largest congregations in the city, the Chaldean Catholic from Iraq.
Well, isn't that wonderful?
He was the mastermind behind this mural project.
Okay.
And my hat off to him. He's a tremendous man, and he's now in Vancouver assembling and building a church there, because right now their congregation is kind of homeless right now in Vancouver. So he's dealing with that.
Okay.
The cover of A Work in Progress shows the mural in the Sacred Heart. And in mid painting, that little tiny man up there is me up on the scaffold.
I've seen your work in pictures, but I haven't seen it. But I would love to see them. But so when you do a big mural project, do you sketch it out ahead of time, or you just go and do it, or how do you do that?
Well, it's a very complicated process. I usually go back and forth with the committee or the organization or the town or the business or whatever it is that wants the mural, and we do rough sketches to start with, and then once the rough sketches are approved, and usually it's just like a photo montage, I will hand draw the whole thing to scale. So the mural, the design for Yonge, for example, would have been 80 by 20 inches, like way long, big drawing. And once the thing is hand drawn to scale, often what we'll do is we'll use that hand drawn design to create a limited edition print, which then we put into production, and that helps to pay for the mural project.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Right now, I have a frame built in our yard that it has panels on it, 20 feet by 12 feet. So far, and it's actually going to be a mural for Tisdale to celebrate their centennial. It'll be up next year in June or July. And so as soon as the weather gets nice, I'll be out there slapping the paint on it.
Well, nothing's held you back, and I know you need a kidney. So is it hard to match a kidney donations, or what if somebody's out there that wants to donate a kidney? What's the process?
Well, the process starts with phoning the transplant coordinator at St. Paul's Hospital.
Okay.
Anybody that wants to get a hold of the transplant coordinator can just call 655-5000, which is the information, and then ask for the transplant coordinator.
Okay.
That's the first step. You know, the thing about donating a kidney, when my brother donated a kidney back in 1979, he had a big, huge scar on the back of on his back. It took him probably about 3 or 4 weeks to recuperate. He was actually in a lot of pain. But nowadays, things are different. It's laparoscopic surgery, so it's only 2 or 3 tiny little incisions that they need now. And actually nowadays, the donor usually recovers quicker than the recipient, which is saying a lot. They've made a lot of progress. And another great thing about donating, as far as I'm concerned, is, well, A, you get a guy off dialysis, which is
saving a life, really.
Saving
it could
a life.
Be, yes.
That's right. So living donation is a real triumph, because not only do you save someone else's life, get them off dialysis and back to their regular work life and all that, but you the donor needs to go through a very, very intensive health checkup. Like, it's unbelievable. Put it this way: if you find out that you have any underlying conditions that you weren't aware of, well, that's when you'll know, because they will not let anybody donate a kidney that isn't like 100% healthy. So
well, that's good information to know too.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity to find out really from head to toe if you're perfectly healthy. Not very often you get that type of intensive checkup.
Yes,
so that's that's a big bonus of it.
Well, you rock, and look at all the good work you're doing with books and art and everything. So I really appreciate having you on my show, and good luck out there, and I hope that you get a kidney donation soon.
That would be awesome, Mary.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Putting that out to that good energy out to the universe.
We are sending it out. That was Michael Gaudet, visual artist and kidney health advocate and author. I hope you enjoyed today's show with Simone and Jocelyn Garreau with Decor x2, and Michael Gaudet with visual artist, author, and kidney advocacy. If you'd like to share your story, contact me and tell me why you rock. Thanks for rocking in and having a conversation with Marion. I'm Marion, and you rock.